the Spirit Sessions podcast. I'm your guide, Katie Solocast, bringing you your weekly self-love soundbite. Join us, where I'll help you find your true spiritual home, where every single aspect of you is holy ground, holy ground, holy ground, holy ground.
This is a Spirit Session podcast with Katie Silcox. Venga chicos, empezamos.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hi everyone, Katie here. This podcast is intended to inspire you, educate you, and most importantly, support you on your journey towards knowing who you really are, that inner self, that inner teacher. I am not a psychologist or a medical doctor and do not offer professional health or medical advice on this podcast. If you are suffering from any kind of psychological or medical issue, please do the right thing and seek help from your qualified health professional. Hello, everybody. It's your Ayurveda Girl Friday. Katie Silcox here, coming to you. It is December. Are you guys freezing cold? Are you laying on a beach in Australia? Hello, I am freezing cold and wishing I was laying on a beach in Australia, but no, I am here in beautiful Virginia, actually really enjoying this winter magic, feeling into the drawing in to the dark nights, and honestly just enjoying being snuggled up in my bed with my little puppy. You guys, we have pretty much, by the time this podcast goes out, 4 more weeks. We've got 1 month left for you to sign up for Ayurveda school. I know so many of you out there thinking about it. And you guys know I think my baby's the best, cutest one in the world. But you don't have to take my word for it. We have an amazing video of our level 2 students talking about what it's done for them. Check it out on our Instagram. And today is a really special episode, and here's why. 200 times I've come on here or with someone else and brought you guys what I hope has been some fun, entertaining, and hopefully really helpful information for you to be inspired and amused and hopefully educated in a way that touches you deeply in the heart. That's my intention. And I just want you to know that these podcasts that I speak out into the ether for you all really are also for me. So today, what I thought would be really, really helpful and fun would be to talk about 200 episodes. What we've learned. What are some of the central themes that keep coming through over and over and over again in this podcast, and where we're going with it? So one of the biggest things that comes through, I think, when we look through all of these podcasts is that when we attempt to understand the way we call it Mother Nature or nature, but that kind of brings up an idea of separation. It's like, oh, Mother Nature, it's like the forest or the trees or going out into a safari, but really nature is you. We are nature. And so when we attempt to learn about life, to learn about how life behaves, when we learn about those rhythms of life and we do our best to get in those rhythms and to emulate those rhythms and honor those rhythms, we experience more and more, not only good health, but also connection. Feeling nested within a bigger context than just ourselves and our small mind and our ego. And so the first thing I hope that we've learned in 200 episodes, it feels like 200 years some days, is that we're here to learn how nature behaves and to serve ourselves by emulating those rhythms. And I remember one of my Ayurveda teachers would say, learn how to serve these teachings and you will see how the teaching serves you tenfold. So number one, you are nature and it's wonderful to learn nature's rhythms. What does that look like in a modern woman's life? It looks like saying no. It looks like going into your room and taking a break. It looks like doing a class that awakens your parasympathetic nervous system. It looks like meditating. It looks like crying. It looks like feeling. It looks like carving out 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, whatever you can handle in your calendar where you'd have nothing on the agenda, where spontaneous life can come. It looks like slowing down, doing less, loving more. Another thing that I have learned through doing this podcast 200 years, just kidding, 200 episodes, is that when you give, especially if you can do it with someone else, when you give people room to be safe in the sense that they won't be judged, and so we have to be a safe place first and foremost to ourselves. But when we give that feeling of love and non-judgment, and we allow people the room to be honest about what's going on in themselves, healing happens. We call this the healing climate. And so one of the things I've learned is that our program, this podcast, our teachers, no one's here to indoctrinate anyone. It's more an invitation and a methodology for being with yourself, for activating your intuition, for being brave and doing what your intuition says. And in that, we create this thing called the healing climate that my teacher, Crystal, and I have discussed on this podcast and it's so insidious, guys. It's so insidious. We live in a culture that tells you that everything about you is not right and you need to fix it, whether it be through a beauty regime or a new degree or getting the right partner or healing your body. You're a problem and you need to fix it, and here are all the ways. And while there's nothing wrong with wanting to feel good, the healing climate is quite the opposite. It says your innate nature is love. You are inherently worthy, inherently good. And then we can talk about all the weird shit you do and maybe the ways you've messed up some times in your life and the mistakes you've made. But that's the energy that we call the Divine Mother. The Divine Mother loves you no matter what you've done. The Divine Mother is always available. It's a part of your mind. It's the part of your mind that can look at your problems and say, yeah, this is a rat's nest of a mess you've made, young lady, but the nest, the outer ring that you're sitting in is not judging you. She is holding you. She is loving you. And now we can activate the Divine Father. And the Divine Father loves you too, but he says, we got to clean up this mess, and here's how. And get your ass off the couch and do it. But we got to start with the yin. We got to start with the love. That's the healing climate. And our energy is only able to flow when the climate is healing, when the climate is judgmental, when the climate starts from a premise that you're broken, that you're not good enough, that you're not pretty enough, that you're not healthy enough, that you're not smart enough. When we start from that place, the results will always get you the same place. And it's not where you want to go. If you want different results in your life, you have to change the paradigm from which you are moving. So let me give an example of that for just regular life. You in January, you're all going to join Shakti School. I know I'm going to see so many of my podcast girls there. Shout out if you're joining today when you hear this on January 15th. Let me know you're in the room, that you're a podcast listener. That would make my night, okay? All right, so January 2025, you're like, you know what? I'm going to start going to the gym because I'm an aging woman, and I've heard that building muscle is the way we stay young, and that is true. We call it Mamsa Dhatu. The muscle tissue is the tissue of youth. You are like, wow, I can't wait to be a 50-year-old or a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old or a 90-year-old with muscles. I want to keep working in this lifetime. I want to keep having fun. I want to keep helping people. I want to keep alive and my mind active. And you have all these goals and you feel so excited about meditating into your old age. And you go to the gym from this place of hell yes. I'm building my muscle because I love this life and I want to be healthy as long as possible. God, breathe into my muscles as I pump. That is a healing climate goal. I'm going to the gym with the overlay of how enthusiastic and grateful I am for a strong body well into old age. Versus, my legs look chubby, my belly's ugly. I'm going to the gym so I can get hot, so I can attract a man to love me, or I can be a pretty lady in my bridge club, or I can get attention, or whatever. Do you guys see the difference? Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's the healing climate in just like a regular ass way of talking about it. Here's another thing that I've learned in my 200 years / 200 podcasts. Tantra sees everything as the sacred mandala of your life. Tantra does not divide your life up into boxes that say this is holy and sacred and this is shit and don't look at it or get rid of it. Tantra says that everything is a key and a portal into holiness. Everything is an energy that can be used if we bring love and consciousness to it. Everything going on in your life is the sacred mandala. The body is a divine temple through which spiritual awakening occurs. The Jungians and the alchemists called is the body is the prima materia, the raw material for transformation into the philosopher's stone. You know, Jung was very inspired by the tantric yogis and Kundalini, and he understood that the alchemy that happened when we take the body, which one of my early teachers called the sum total storehouse of all of the past experiences that you've had that have not been digested. Prima materia, raw material. What would we do without the raw material? We could not build a fire. And that fire could not transform us into that philosopher's holy gemstone. And so we work with body-based magic. Unlike how many of us grew up, the body was seen as something unholy, as a lustful, disgusting impediment to overcome with its urges and excrements and sexual desires. Tantra said no, the body is a place that holds sensory experiences, and through feeling, through movement, through sensory awareness, through touch, we can access gateways to more power and more wisdom. The body is a teacher. And in our school, we meditate through and with the body rather than against it. We also understand prana, or energy, as the foundation of life. And the key to awakening and spiritual evolution is to awaken dormant energies in us and to purify energy in us. And the transformation of energy within our substance mirrors inner transformation. So we work at Shakti School to teach you how to harness your personal energy so you can manifest a lot of changes, even healing potentially. And so that is really a huge cornerstone of this podcast. And of course, the school that we run, that's just a year-long experience of some of the things we touch on in the podcast. There's also this schism that we learned of the spirit and the matter, right? The body and religion were separated. Science was separated from spirituality. Medicine separated from spirituality. Academia was separated from the body. And what we're starting to wake up to in all of these structures of society is that no, actually, spirit and matter don't need to be separated. They can't be, actually. Spirit and matter are two sides of the same coin. Nirvana, enlightenment, is found by embracing samsara, meaning embracing this realm of our material world, and like going to Walmart and like, you know, getting a wart on your toe and like having COVID and like getting sad and like all these crazy experiences of our human existence that are quite bothersome. Tantra says that there is spirit in all. That the material and the spiritual worlds aren't just connected, they're one and the same. And as we begin to purify our bodies, we begin to see better spirit and light in everything. So we try, through working actually in and down our body, to ground spiritual practices in the material world through rituals and through our body. Another big principle is that awareness and energy are connected. So when we're aware of our energy and our thoughts and our emotions, we can liberate ourselves from some of the binds that we all bring in with this lifetime and that we create in this lifetime. So Tantra is very much a process of transmutation. What does that word mean? It means turning our base metals into golds. In other words, here's a great way of understanding it. Turning our personality flaws that all your family members can see about you and your husband can see about you and your best friend can see about you, the stuff that everybody else knows about you, that you're sometimes the last one to get the news about. We can take the more harmful or violent or manipulative or dark, unconscious aspects of our personality and use them. That's base metals into gold, the symbolic inner refinement. Yeah. The power of rituals and intentions, rituals and ceremonies matter. Having time throughout the seasons to stop and pause and reflect on what is your sacred intention? What do you want this time to be about? Whether it be a moon ritual or a seasonal ritual or just any moment that you stop. That powerful, sacred, holy pause allows us to get out of the relentless momentum of our time-based life and step into the timelessness where we can get clarity around what it is that we actually want to move towards. Another thing that we've learned in these 200 years / 200 podcasts, now I just want to talk about 200 years because that feels right, is that we're really confused about our sexual energy. We're really confused about our relationships. And so sexuality in Tantra is considered a sacred life force that when consciously harnessed can actually help and bring forward our spiritual awakening. Sex is symbolic. It is the union of the masculine and feminine inside of us. That process of creation and transformation, whether we be using our energy to create a baby or our spiritual life, sexual energy can be a potent force for helping spur on more energy within us and connecting to life's creative pulse. And that's the way God made us, right? To have this sexual expression. And in Shakti School, we have a couple of modules within our 2-year program that help women purify their sexual energy from false beliefs. And that's a huge one. I mean, raise your hand out there if you feel like a good person and a normal human and a balanced person and a fairly stable person. And then you start sleeping with someone and all hell breaks loose. Or some of you out there are married and you're like, what? No, I've been sleeping with the same person for a long time, but somehow I don't feel satisfied in this realm. And I know that there's more. None of us were really taught how to consciously use sexuality. And so that is a big part of our training in level 1 and even more so in level 2. Another big thing I want to highlight that's so huge and it's so easy to say and so challenging to do, and that is in the Shakti school, there are no hierarchical guru setups where we use, and when I say that, I don't just mean a person, I mean ideological systems of thought, ideological systems of practice. I'm not saying those are bad or wrong. I'm saying that's not what we're doing over here. Why? This is different. We're empowering ourselves through our own intuitive, direct experience. Direct experience of reality rather than dogma is the teacher over here. Now, are there practices and traditions and methodologies that I think have value? Absolutely, but only within, in my humble opinion, the remembrance that the direct experience is the teacher. And so our practices tend to be quite loose and experiential and body-based and sensory. And that's just how we do it. Why? Because when an image comes to you, or a sound comes to you, or an affirmation comes to you, or a teaching comes through you, it is based on you. And in that, you can trust it. And again, we do breath work, we do visualizations, we do methodologies. There's nothing wrong with them, but only if they're couched in the extreme and express understanding of the sovereignty of each individual person who is on a unique spirit journey, who is her own teacher. And so the Tantrika learns through hands-on experimentation in her own body. She learns through her dreams. She learns through her sacred ceremonies and her meditations and what comes to her, and through her. And if a goddess shows up, it shows up because it's for her in that moment in real time, not because someone installed it in her. You hear me? You feel me? Your body, your personal practice, your embodied knowledge, and your intuition are really, really central to growth and true self-esteem and empowerment. Another big teaching and realization in 200 episodes and 200 years is that oneness and interconnectedness, not that we aren't, our own thing, and at the moment of your death, you're going to be with you. But all of existence is interconnected, and this separation that we feel is an illusion. And guys, I feel like this is like something 2025 wants to bring in. And are you going to participate? 2025 wants to bring in unity consciousness, meaning there is so much polarization in the world right now, and social media has exacerbated it. Who are your enemies? Who are your teammates? Who are the good guys? Who are the bad guys? Stop. We have got to love our neighbors again. As long as we are at war, we are not going to self-realize. So the more we work with these body-based alchemical teachings that emphasize transformation and embodied spirituality and the sacred interplay between your energy and your body and your world, the more we carve out these sacred moments throughout the day and the week and the month and the year for our spiritual life, the more we remember that there's no one coming to save us, that we are the ones who have to start to love ourselves. And the more we commit to that, the more that the truth of oneness will be revealed. We don't have to try to love our neighbors. We don't have to try to love our enemies. As we practice, it just will start to happen, because as we recognize how much we are at war with ourselves and how dishonest we are with ourselves and how much self-loathing and self-hatred is hidden within ourselves, and how within ourselves we have all the gods and all the demons, when we see that in real time and we do this crazy brave thing, which is we just open our heart to seeing our true selves, through that, we start to see better that the outer enemy is but a mere reflection of our own inner enemies. Had an amazing talk the other day with one of my friends in the yoga world, and we'll put it out here as a podcast in February, but she was calling this the projection project. So often the things we see in others that we hate, that we want to be different, that we disdain, are the very things we have yet to recognize within our own selves. And the more we keep doing that, the more we'll keep manifesting the outer world as a reflection of that. And as we begin to see that in ourselves, lo and behold, we have to see it less and less on the outside in a way that triggers or charges us. It's not to say we won't be in disagreement. It's not to say there isn't really bad shit going on in the world that needs to be dealt with and in some cases punished, but we're talking about a more subtle level here of our mind. I could go on and on, guys, but the last one I'll leave you with is this. There are two paths. One is the path of the peacemaker, the yogi, and one is the path of the lover. I think everyone out there, while you may also strive for peace, I think our listeners are by and large lovers. The path of love is the path of Tantra. It is very much the path of the brave warrior, because to love is always to suffer. When you are a lover, you are falling in love with imperfect people, imperfect animals, imperfect systems, imperfect governments, imperfect relatives, imperfect you. And when we fall in love, we are automatically entering into a relationship with other flawed beings. And so if we're going to be lovers, which is very much the path of the tantric, the path of passion, we have to be so committed to cultivating our own inner practices of peace and self-love. When I say self-love, I mean the real love, not the love that's temporary or conditional. I hope that this season of the holidays brings so much imperfect humanity into your life and love and peace. I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of our 200th, where we have done a little 200 years in review. And again, you only have a month left, guys. If you want to talk to a real human woman who's done our entire program, if you want to sit down and see if this is a right choice for you, we want it to be right. We never pressure people to sign up for our school. We actually start each year with an intention that the women that are meant to be here be able to find us, that we may help them make it happen. If there are financial difficulties, may we get them on an affordable payment plan. We even have a couple of partial scholarships left. If you're a woman out there listening and if finances are a barrier for you to come, shoot us an email. All of our full scholarships are now closed. We have filled them, but we have several partial scholarships left. It can, through payment plans, be quite cheap. So if you're a woman out there with a business or a desire to have a coaching business, or you just really feel like you're meant to be with us in 2025, don't let money be an issue. Reach out to my team. The link is in the show notes. You can write us always at info@theshaktischool.com. And we normally are pretty great about getting back to you within a couple days. I love you guys. I'm with you. Happy holidays. We'll do one more or maybe two more before officially it's Christmas. But thank you, listener, for being here with me. You guys are the reason that we get to do this. I hope you'll consider joining us on Zoom live, and 2025, January 15th is when we roll it out. Sending you all so much love, and see you soon. A big special thanks to Kevin Carlisle of Goodbye Gemini, who wrote this beautiful podcast music, and to DJ Juan Pablo Jimenez in southern Spain for mixing it and making it magic.